Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Taylor here from Otago in Japan. Welcome to the DOM-24 webinar that we have today. Just wanted to kind of go over the DOM-24. I have a presentation for you. I'll kind of have the unit right here, and we'll talk about the different parts. And then I have a quick little measurement video at the end for you to take a look at. It shouldn't take too long. For those of you that are joining live today, thank you so much for joining. You can put your questions in the chat box whenever you have a moment, and I'll get to those when I have a break between the presentation. And then for those of you that are watching this webinar afterwards, feel free to email us with any questions that you have. We'd be happy to help you out. Also, we have a feedback form for you to fill out. So if you have any feedback about the webinar for us to improve, then we'd like to hear your comments for sure. And then I'll also see if I can get going a little bit of a poll in our chat section. So if you could kind of let me know about your oil management method that you're most familiar with right now, just so I can get an idea, I would appreciate that. So let me see if I can post that now. Okay, so hopefully that posted. If it didn't, then oh well, we'll just continue onwards. Okay, so let's go through and kind of talk about the DOM-24 a little bit here. Okay, so we have DOM-24 TI PPS. This is our frying oil monitor. It's one of my favorite products that we have, actually, just because it is so useful. It can be used in the restaurant itself, or it can be used in large production facilities. So definitely just being able to manage the quality of frying oil with just a small little instrument is something, or like a concept that I really like. So kind of going on. Okay. So what is DOM-24? So this is for quantitative, reliable management of deteriorated oil. It's IoT supported with NFC technology, which is near field communication. So basically what that means is by using this instrument, you just stick it into the oil, measure it, and then it will give you a value that's going to help you know whether your oil has been deteriorated towards a certain point or not. So once the oil degrades, breaks down, is used too much, at a certain point you have to change the oil. That can be for food safety, maybe the type of food that you're frying doesn't want you to use degraded oil because the color or the taste or something might change. So it's really good to manage your frying oil closely so that you can kind of have the right timing for changing it for food safety. Also, if you have like, let's say you are in a restaurant and you have decided that every single Tuesday you're going to change your frying oil no matter what. You might actually find that you're changing your frying oil way too quickly, and that maybe you can get a few extra days out of it. And so measuring with this is going to give you the exact time to change it. So that's actually going to save you some money because you're using your oil for a little bit longer and you're saving the cost on the amount of oil that you have to buy in the long run. So it is super simple to use, but it has a lot of really great benefits, especially if you have food safety people from the government coming in and checking. It's good for you to actually have a way to check yourself. There are a few different ways out there currently, and we'll kind of go over that. So let's kind of move on here. Okay. So benefits for using the DOM-24 specifically. DOM-24 is very safe, easy to use, hygienic. Reason is it's just one instrument that you just hold here and you just stick into the oil, press start, and it gives you your measurement. It's really easy to clean on this end here, so you're not going to have any parts that are dirty or hard to get in between crevices. It's pretty easy to just pull out and wipe off. Also, by using specifically the DOM-24, you get an objective numerical value. So on this display here, you're going to get an actual number, and then depending on what that number is, then you can decide if you need to change the oil or not. And we'll kind of talk about the magic number that some people have figured out. But what's really good about getting that numerical number is if you're doing some other subjective methods, like using a test strip, or if you're just looking at the oil or smelling the oil, it's so subjective that you're just not going to be doing the same thing every single time. So when you're using an objective numerical value, then you can kind of really tighten your quality control parameters, and it's going to be a lot more consistent. Also, when you use the DOM-24, you eliminate your reoccurring costs. So if you are a big fan of test strips, you are familiar with having to keep buying the test strips. So over time, if you think about how much money you're spending on test strips throughout the year, you're probably going to save more time and energy by using the DOM-24 instead. Also, specifically for DOM-24, we're well known for having an instrument that can measure oil at both room temperature and stably at higher temperatures. So if you go on our website, you'll see kind of some information. There's even a graph on there that talks about how the DOM-24 performs compared to some competitors. So please check that out if you have a moment. Okay. And oh yes, one thing I wanted to mention, for those higher temperatures, it will go up to 225 degrees C. So if you're going really, really high, you shouldn't be, but it can handle up that high if you needed to. Okay, so DOM-24 versus test strips. So I think for most people that I talk to for oil management, they're using test strips. I think the reason is they're just cheap, easy to get. But there are some downsides to using them compared to using something like the DOM-24. So if we look at the chart I have here, kind of going back over where test strips are more of the subjective measurement, where DOM-24 is an objective measurement. Also, DOM-24 you buy one time. Test strips, you have to keep buying them over and over again in the future. Also, with test strips, there are expiration dates on them, so you might buy a bottle of 60, but maybe you only check every so often. So by the time that you are going to actually use all of the test strips in the oil, they might be expired at that point. Also, they could get moisture damage and things like that, so even if you just buy a bottle, if you accidentally drop them in the sink or something, then they're no good to use after that. Whereas DOM-24 is durable, lasts a long time. Just take care of it like you would even your phone or something, and it's going to last a long time. Also, like I said before, the DOM-24 can measure both room temperature oil and hot oil, so that means it's actually very safe. When you have a test strip that's maybe only this size, it's going to be kind of, for me anyway, a little scary to dip my hand into a really hot fryer to measure the oil. So it kind of will take some time for the oil to cool down to room temperature to be able to be measured. So in a way, this is also quicker instead of just being safer. So that's another plus. Also, if you are measuring the oil with test strips, you do have to record your values by hand if you are keeping track of them. But with the DOM-24, it actually has NFC data output. So if you have your phone, you just put it nearby and it will transfer the measurement data over. So a lot of government testing facilities really like DOM-24 because of the NFC data output. It provides a type of data authenticity. So they really need that, especially for government facilities, kind of like proof of when it was measured and what the value was. Also, it will tell you the temperature, so you can keep track of that as well. So that's DOM-24 versus test strips. There are some other ways to check the oil, like sending samples to a third-party lab for them to do some more extensive testing. Some people just look at the oil and think, oh, it's dark enough, or it's smelly, or there's stuff floating in it, so I'll change it. There are some other color comparison methods as well. I think I visited one customer that had a little vial of fresh oil, and then they would just take a little bit of the old oil and compare the two. And then if it was too dark or something, then they would change it. So that was interesting. But definitely, I think the easiest way that anybody can measure is going to be with a digital oil meter like DOM-24. Okay. So do we have any questions?
Yeah, actually we have 3 questions.
Okay, so let's do 1 or 2, and then we'll get to the last one.
Okay. The first question is, don't we need calibration standards?
Yeah, so DOM-24 doesn't really need to be calibrated often. Maybe after you've had it for a while and you want to check the calibration yourself, there is a calibration standard that you can buy from us. We don't have it come with the instrument because you really don't need to do it very often. There, in the instruction manual, it goes over very well about how to calibrate with the oil. But if you do need it, it's probably good to contact us first for troubleshooting so we can help you decide if you really need to calibrate it or not, or if there's a different type of setting that maybe you entered, or something else going on. So there is calibration solution, but I recommend to contact us first before just getting it. Another?
Next, can you please measure some frying oil sample?
Oh, okay. So I cannot have a fryer in my office, but I have a video for you. So if you can just wait for a little bit longer in the presentation, I have a video of the DOM-24 clearly measuring some oil, so you can actually see what the display looks like and how it measures and how long it takes to measure, and I'll kind of explain what's going on in the video. So yes, good question. I think, yeah, we can do another.
Okay. Can you check acid value of solid fried products?
Solid fried products. So the DOM-24 can check acid value, and I'll go over that in a second, but it's only a frying oil. It's not any actual food. So no solids or anything. It's just the frying oil only. Okay. Do we have any more? Or okay. Perfect. I'm going to move on then. Okay. Okay, so DOM-24, let's talk about how it works in case you are curious about the scale and what number you need to get. So DOM-24, it is a type of conductivity kind of meter, but a little bit different than some other Otago products that you might be familiar with. It measures the total polar materials in the oil, and that's denoted by TPM percent. So it will measure from 0.5 TPM up to 40.0% TPM. So you probably have no idea what that means if you've never managed oil with a digital meter before. So total polar materials is just really the amount of the degraded substances that are in the oil. So every time you heat up the oil to use it, or put the actual food in the oil and you're frying, you're actually breaking down the oil and it's degrading. So the more that it's breaking down, the more those substances are being present in the oil. So that's what this is measuring. So the more you use it, or the older it is, or as time goes on, you should see the TPM percentage get higher and higher. And then at a certain point, you want to make sure that you, once you hit that number, that you change your oil. So when it comes to TPM percentage, there's different people that have different ideas on what number you should specifically change it at. But what I've been hearing and what I think was officially announced in the EU was 25% TPM. So from visiting customers and measuring on site, I really found that a lot of people are changing their oil a lot earlier than 25%. So maybe like if I'm with the customer and I'll measure their oil really quickly, it'll be about 19%. And they're like, oh, I was going to change that later today, but I guess I don't need to. But then there are some people that if they wait up until 25% TPM, they think that even at that point the oil's kind of icky, and they would rather change before even the food safety recommendation. So it's kind of up to the customer, but definitely you shouldn't go over 25% TPM. That's kind of the known standard across the world. So if we're talking about across the world, there is another type of frying oil degradation scale called acid value. So I don't want you to get confused and think that it's FFA or free fatty acids because it is not. So acid value, it's actually a scale we have that's based off of TPM. So conductivity meters measure first in TPM, and then we convert the value to acid value. So it's not measuring specifically free fatty acids in the type of way that you might be used to, like if you're sending your samples to a lab or whatnot. So you may see that the value is a little bit different. Acid value scale, the one that we have on the DOM-24, is most commonly used in a lot of different Asian countries because they are compared to the acid value that the test strip is measuring. So free fatty acids and what a test strip is measuring is also different. So DOM-24 can actually measure like your acid value test strip. We do have a video that will come out in a little while here that shows how to actually calculate the acid value scale on your DOM-24 using your test strips that you have. So definitely recommend to take a look at that if you want to measure in the acid value scale in the future. Okay, let's see. We have one more slide going on here. Okay, so DOM-24 actually had a little bit of a makeover this past year. So if you are familiar with Atago DOM-24 over the years, then you may notice what I'm holding in my hand is a little bit different in style than before. That's just because it got some upgrades in terms of materials, some new function upgrades as well. So in the video that I'll show you in a little bit, it will be the older style DOM-24, but in principle, they both work the same way. They have the same measurement method. So it's just the look and the size and a couple features that are a little bit different. But if you have an older DOM-24 and you see this newer DOM-24, don't worry, they're pretty similar. It's just one is a little bit more upgraded. So if we want to talk about specifically what's different between old DOM-24 and new DOM-24, is old DOM-24 had for the material of the body SUS 316 stainless steel, not 326, sorry, that's 316 stainless steel. But now we have titanium as the body, just for a little bit added durability. Also, the weight of the DOM-24 got some feedback that they would kind of like it a little bit lighter, so we did, when we made the material change, we made a change to the weight as well. Also, the older DOM-24 is really long. This one is about the size of my forearm, I would say. DOM-24 actually went pretty long, like maybe past my elbow before, but now it's just a little bit shorter. So still long enough that you feel a safe distance away from the oil, but not too short that you're afraid. So it's a good size, I would say, for now. Also, the DOM-24 now has a continuous measurement mode feature. So if you're going to want to measure the oil over a longer period of time, then you can actually just stick it in and then it will keep measuring. So regular method for measurement, when you press start, it will measure and then stop once the measurement value's been obtained. But with continuous measurement mode, you can keep going. Okay, so I'm going to switch over my camera here so I can get a little more up close and personal with the DOM-24 and talk about the different points of it, and then we'll move on to the actual measurement section. Give me one moment. Do we have any questions?
Yes.
Do. Okay, so hold one moment. Okay, so do we have a question currently that you can read out loud?
Whether the acid value in DOM-24 is equivalent to the value comes by titration values.
So it is not the exact same. So titration is usually titrating for free fatty acids, where our acid value scale is closer to the test strip acid value.
Next, can we check oil quality in water and oil emulsion?
Oh, good question, but unfortunately not with the DOM-24. So the DOM-24 is more for measuring the total polar materials or the degradation of the oil. So if you're doing more of like an emulsion, I think things are going to get in the way of that, and I don't think the number will make too much sense for you.
How often do we calibrate this unit?
So you do not really need to calibrate often. There is a calibration solution you can get if you're worried about the values and you want to put it back to the standard. But if you're familiar with other Togo instruments like our refractometers, salt meters, those require daily calibration, but the DOM-24 is not really like that. So a little bit different concept when it comes to calibration. So if you've had it for a while and you want to check the calibration, then it's good to get the solution, but it's not something that you need to do on a regular basis. Any other question? Okay, perfect. So if you do have more questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, but I'm going to kind of go over our DOM-24 and kind of the parts of it. So first on this side, we have the battery compartment. So if I were to unscrew this part, the battery cap would come off and then out would come two AAA batteries. So no crazy batteries that you have to get, pretty standard. On the back here, you'll find the serial numbers written here. And then moving down, we have our display area, which I'll go over. And then we have the measurement area down below. So right here, part of the newer upgrade to the DOM-24 is this material here called PPS. So this is like a heat-resistant material that really helps with the continuous measurement function or durability with high temperatures. So because we're going to be leaving the DOM-24 in the oil a little bit longer, it's good to, around this area, have a more heat-resistant material. So that's why we have this change here. And then when we move down, we have our sensor electrode. So this is the sensor cover. Comes off really easily just by unscrewing it. If you want to do some deep cleaning, then you can unscrew this and wipe with a soft cloth. Especially with oil, you might find that just wiping it off with some water is not enough, so you can actually use some mild soap to clean as well, kind of this whole area. I would recommend cleaning it every so often so that you can have more accurate measurements and not a gross instrument. But of course, if you have stuck this in some really hot oil and have measured it, please make sure that it's cooled down or you're not coming in contact with any of the heat because it will be quite hot. So here is this sensor. I really recommend to keep the cover on at all times when you're going to use it, because we don't want any scratches on that sensor or damage. So it's good to just keep it on and then put it in. So kind of going to the display, I'm going to hope that you guys can see. If you don't see, or if it's really blurry, I would recommend changing the resolution settings on your YouTube video if you really can't see anything at all. Also, I should probably find where there's not a glare. Okay, so I pressed the start button here, and then that turns on the instrument and brings us to the first part. So you see on here, we have our battery indicator, and then oil, and then this is TP for total polar materials, or TPM value. So it will automatically go to the TPM scale, but pressing this button here for switch 1 will switch you over to the acid value scale as well. So you can easily go back and forth by pressing switch 1 or switch 2. Or switch 1 once or twice. So there is another button here, switch 2. You'll only really need to use that button if you're going through the settings on the DOM-24, like you want to turn on the continuous measurement mode, or if you want to calibrate the instrument, so you have to go into the calibration mode, or if you are setting up the acid value scale on your instrument, then you have to go into that mode as well. So other than that, you can kind of just ignore SW2 because you won't use it too often. So once it's on, we just press start, and then it will begin measuring. So here we'll see the temperature as 25 degrees C, and then it's blinking LLL because I don't have it in anything right now. And then if I can get it out the right way, I hope you can see the blinking light over here. So it's blinking red right now because it's desperately trying to measure, but it can't because there's no sample. So it's saying that it's unstable and not ready for the measurement. But if it were measuring oil, then once it reaches its measured value, then this light will turn green. So right now it's red because it failed at measuring because there's nothing, but once there's sample, it will turn green. And you will see that in the video that I am about to show you. Okay, so let's see here. Okay. Do we have any questions before I go into the video?
Yes. Is there any data transfer system?
Yes. Oh, I can show you. Okay, maybe I should. I'm gonna go over to my other camera and actually show you how it works, because I have my phone. So let's see here, one moment. Okay. So we're back. Okay, so here's my phone. Here's my DOM-24. For data transfer, you will just want to get, well, my recommendation is NFC tools. If you're using iPhone. For Android, usually they have a built-in app or something already, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But for iPhone, definitely I recommend this one because it's really easy. So you'll just hit read, and then it will say ready to scan. And iPhones are around this area for the NFC reader. So there's a small NFC kind of button, not button, sorry, symbol. So NFC symbol down here. So you just kind of want to line up, and then it will give you a check mark. And then if you tap on your values, oh, hold on. Oh, you know, I don't really have any measurements, so it might not do it. Let's see. I don't have any measurements, otherwise I would show you. But we do have in the app, once you put the data over, it will show you kind of like in a little grid the TPM percent, AV percent, and then the date and the temperature in both Celsius and Fahrenheit. So it just kind of plugs all that data over, and then you can decide from there if you want to keep it in the app or if you want to email it to yourself. If you want it to go directly into the computer instead of your phone, you can get those little NFC readers, and you just kind of scan the instrument on the NFC reader, and then it will go into your computer. In the instruction manual, it actually talks a little bit about what type of NFC reader you can use and how to do that as well. And actually, while I'm here, I might want to explain this box. So when you get the DOM-24, you do get this lovely box to hold it in with the manual. So I just recommend that when you're not using it, that you keep it in this box. Also, just for some added safety, there is a hole on the side here that you can put a lanyard in. So if you want to attach it to your wrist or hang it around your neck or something, that way you can be sure that you're not going to accidentally drop it into the oil or drop it on the floor. So that's another cool feature as well. Okay, so switching over. Okay. Do we have another question?
We have two more questions,
But
do we cover?
well, do you think that they are questions that will be answered in my little video, or should I go for it?
Okay, I read it. Is the sensor replaceable?
What was that?
The sensor.
So if this part gets damaged, you want to send it into an Otago service center because you cannot replace on your own.
Okay, is this an FDA approved method for acid value measurement?
For acid value. So the FDA, they do not approve specific instruments. They approve the testing methods. So measuring the oil with this type of digital oil meter is an approved method. So you don't have to worry about that.
What's the life of the sensor?
Life of the sensor, long time, as long as you don't break it. So these type of things, especially because you're sticking it into really hot oil and whatnot, it's just good to take care of it, let it properly cool. Maybe don't stick it directly under like water or cold water after you stuck it into a really hot fryer. But no, it should last you for many years. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly how many, but there are people that have been using this. It's been in the market for a long time and have no issues with the sensor going bad or anything like that. So you can be pretty rest assured that it'll be okay for a long time. Okay, good. Okay, so I guess the moment you've all been waiting for, hopefully, is our very quick video on actually measuring. So the beauty of the DOM-24 is that actual measurement only takes a few seconds, so I don't have a super long measurement video for you. But let's go ahead and take a look here. Okay, so we should be starting our video in a moment. Okay. Oh, I don't think it's going. Hold on one moment, bear with me. Well, that's really sad. Give me one moment while I see if I can troubleshoot this. If there are any questions that might have come up, please put them in the chat or participate in the poll while I see if I can figure out why my video is showing but not actually playing. Do we have any questions that are new? Nope. Okay. Wow. That's really, really disappointing. Hold on. Okay, I think we're moving. Hold. Yep. Okay, here we go. So, we're turning DOM-24 on. In this video, we've got our hot oil on the stove. You'll see that in the oil there are some actual like food bits in there. So it's kind of good to give the oil a nice stir so that it's not coming in contact too much with the fried bits in there. Also making the oil homogeneous. And then once it's done measuring, after just a couple seconds, it has the green light. The measurement value doesn't flash, and it shows on there. So that was pretty fast. Let me see if I can go back. So let's see. Okay, so we have up here pretty high temperature of 102, and then 6.5%. So I kind of missed at the beginning of the video if we were measuring in TPM or AV. So let's see. Okay, so looks like switched over to AV and back to TPM. Okay, so that was 6.5% TPM for the measurement value. So as you see, it is very, very easy. Not much to it. Just kind of stick it in, give it a little stir. Once it's done measuring, pull it out, check the value, and then take some type of cloth and wipe it off, and you are all set. So that is the DOM-24, and I hope that fulfilled all of your expectations for the video that I built up for this. So, okay, so we're a little bit over on time. Sorry about that, but if there's any questions, I will go ahead and answer those. Do we have any new ones? No? Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit here to put your new questions if you come over them. I just want to see if anybody participated in the poll that I put in there. It's kind of a newer thing for us.
New question.
Oh, new question? Okay,
Yeah.
What do we have?
What is the recommended TP value when to change the oil?
25% is the latest that you should be changing your oil. So it's going to be up to you for how early you want to change the oil, but just don't let it get past 25% TPM. Any other questions? No? Okay. So let me see. Sorry, I'm kind of interested in our poll. What do we have? Okay, so our poll today was, what oil management method are you most familiar with? So it seems like test strips are at 29%, and then digital oil meters 36%. Okay, that's good. I like it. I like that we are knowing about digital oil meters. I hope that I brought some new information to you guys today. And then there are people familiar with lab testing, like sending for titration or whatnot. And then other people who are just looking at it visually or not managing it at all. So for you in those 21%, I hope that I convinced you to either go with test strips at least or get the digital oil meter for DOM-24. Do we have any additional questions?
Yeah, we have how to calibrate the instrument.
Yeah, so I think this is the third time I've answered this question. We have a calibration oil that you can purchase to calibrate this instrument. However, it does not need to be calibrated as often as other instruments in the Atago line. So it doesn't come with the instrument because you don't really need to calibrate it often. Only when you are noticing some weird fluctuating values or error messages or things that just are not making sense. So normally after a couple of years, it might be something that you want to get the calibration oil for. On another note, we do have some food production like facilities that do have to kind of like verify their instrumentation that it's reading correctly, and they have to use a standard. So you can get the DOM-24 calibration oil to check the calibration as well if your company has to follow those types of standards. So we do have that, but it's not something, not like our salt meters or refractometers where you have to calibrate those every single day or zero set every single day. This is not that same concept. It's a little bit different. Do we have any other questions?
What about the temperature sensor calibration?
Yes. So temperature sensor calibration is not something that you can do as the end user. It does have to go into an Otago service center if you notice that the temperature is super off. Now that being said, be careful because if you're like, there are some fryers that have temperature sensors as well, and maybe the fryer is a different temperature than the DOM-24, or maybe the fryer setting is a certain temperature and the DOM-24 is reading different. Just be careful because it's most likely that the DOM-24 is correct because it's measuring the sample directly. Like let's say you have a fryer and you set it to 200 degrees C. That doesn't necessarily mean that the sample is always 200 degrees C. Like if it's in the process of warming up, or if it's been sitting there for a long time, sometimes the fryers aren't super accurate in how well they control the temperature. So just keep that in mind when you're using DOM-24, that it might be a little bit different than your fryer setting or thermometer. Do we have another question?
Do you have any standard materials to calibrate?
That is a really, really popular question, and this is now the fourth time I'm answering this question. Yes, we have a calibration solution, and I recommend that you, after this seminar, that you rewatch the whole thing because I do go over that. On that note, this video will be available for a while, so if you join the seminar halfway through, after I've ended it, just go ahead and hit replay, and then you can watch the part that you missed. Any other question? No? Okay, perfect. So thank you all for joining me today. For any additional questions, we'd love it for you to reach out to us directly via email or phone if you can call to Japan. Either way is fine. But I really appreciate all of the feedback that you hopefully share with me on the feedback form. But without further ado, I will say goodbye and see you at our next webinar. Bye-bye.